Good morning. My name is Charles Gray, and I'm a member of the First UU Church. Today, I would like to share some of my thinking about the fourth UU principle. Here it is: a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Since I'm a longtime Unitarian Universalist, it probably would not surprise you if I would recommend a change in the wording of the fourth principle. I would eliminate the word truth and replace it by the word knowledge. So it would read, a free and responsible search for knowledge and meaning. I find the term knowledge to have a rather specific meaning, whereas truth can end up having an awful lot of meanings. The fourth principle, I hope I'm carrying my voice out okay. The fourth principle begins by advocating a free and responsible search. Hence, freedom and responsibility are the foundations upon which the search rests. This foundation sets the ground rules for Unitarian Universalists in our search into the unknown. However, our species has a checkered record in observing ground rules of this and any other kind. Today, we know a great deal about Homo sapiens. It might be instructive to note how our ancient ancestors went about searching for knowledge and meaning, and how these searches evolved over the years. Our prehistoric ancestors lived in a dangerous and confusing world, a world that seemed to be controlled by forces they could not comprehend, much less control. However, over thousands and thousands of years, they evolved two modes of thought. These modes helped them understand and control some of the things in their environment. The focus of one mode was problem solving, whereas the other mode sought to discover meaning in life. They might be labeled the rational and the intuitive. Those are my labels for rational and the intuitive. The intuitive mode is akin to the insights of spirituality, mythology, and aesthetic expression. It seeks to discover the eternal, the timeless, and the universals of human experience so people can have meaning in their lives. The rational mode is akin to the pragmatic problem-solving approach of modern science. It relates exactly to facts, seeks to discover, control, and invent so people can function better in life. These two thought processes were essential as the human species sought to survive and multiply in a hostile environment. However, throughout history, the rational and the intuitive seemed to be in constant competition with each other. They were interested in one or the other controlling the thought and behavior of human beings. Early humans found the rational approach helpful in accomplishing many everyday tasks. It enabled them to deal with the problems they faced in securing food, finding shelter, and defending themselves against hostile animals and sometimes each other. However, in time, they became to rely most heavily on the intuitive approach. both as a way of finding a degree of meaning in life and as a means of communicating and appeasing the controlling forces of nature. What gradually developed might be termed a worldview, a particular kind of a worldview. This worldview had at least three elements to it. One was an intuitive spiritual insights about reality and the meaning of life. Also, a belief system that considered all knowledge consistent with intuitive spiritual insights. And lastly, their social, political, and religious institutions were all merged together very closely. For thousands of years, intuitive-based worldviews of this kind became the mode of choice for the vast majority of human cultures, with only a few interludes that were a little different. They persisted in various forms until the knowledge explosion of the last 400 years. This explosion marked the beginning of a significant change in worldviews. The 150-year period between 1650 and 1800 is known as the Scientific Revolution and the Enlightenment, roughly from Isaac Newton to Thomas Jefferson. The major ideals and goals of this period might be summarized this way. Reason, number one. The methodology and findings of science, individual freedom, equal rights, and liberation from authoritarianism in all of its forms, political, social, and religious. These ideas are in conflict with the basic focus of the long ages of an intuitive-based worldview. This knowledge explosion stimulated the emergence of a rational, knowledge-based worldview. It gained ground and popularity over much of the world. Since it is associated with the benefits of science and technology, it became increasingly acceptable to many people. In a very real sense, the last 400 years have been a transition between worldviews. This new rational-based worldview has become dominant in much of the world and challenges many of the strongly held beliefs and assumptions of those who cling to the previously dominant intuitive-based worldview. Much of the unrest and conflict in the 21st century is related to this clash of worldviews. And unfortunately, it becomes more and more violent as the years go by. As a somewhat optimistic historian, and it's tough to be any kind of an optimist today, but I wonder if a new way of life might rise from the ashes of our current divisiveness. Perhaps a synthesis of the best of the past, where the intuitive and the rational modes of thought become integrated and function for the benefit of humanity. In such a setting, the intuitive approach would function in a manner consistent with an environment of massive amounts of knowledge. Its role would move away from perpetuating the superstitions of the past and focus on means for humankind in a knowledge-rich environment. It would serve as the prime motivator for innovation and creativity, and perhaps take the lead in developing a world system of ethics. The rational approach would continue to be the engine for the discovery and dissemination of new knowledge as well as the provider of problem-solving technology. But it will remain dependent on the intuitive for new ideas and ethical guidance. This would be my rational, intuitive worldview for the future. Not some kind of a perfect utopia, but at least a world in which the full human potential would be actively focused on reality and seriously engaged in finding ways for people to work together in solving the problems of living and surviving on planet Earth. A free and responsible search for knowledge and meaning. I thank you. And I have somewhat of an elaboration of the two modes over here, if any of you would like to see a page elaboration of that. Thank you.